Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today at Studioloo to take a look at my latest journal. This is going to be a flip through of this death and mourning journal. It has elements of Victorian mourning and legends of death and spirit photography and just other kinds of things around that subject. So it's a little bit of a different kind of topic today than what I've recently been covering. So it may or may not be for you. I sort of have people who go down different lanes in the journal world, and I just kind of appreciate just about everything. So let's hop in and take a look at this. So this journal is made inside a vintage book, and this is the vintage book. And the vintage book itself is what inspired me entirely to make a mourning journal. That I'm very much into the death acceptance movement, the green death movement. I'm a huge fan of Caitlin Doughty from Ask a Mortician. I believe in education and all things around the whole point of that we're here and the whole way that we leave this place and all of that. So it's kind of an interesting topic, I think. So so the cover is really lovely. I really enjoyed working with it. I made this fun spine. This is also kind of a grungy journal, which I really like. I've added some elasticized lace here on the sides to just kind of trim nicely that book tape edging. And then back here I've added this little funerary label that says Fini, and that's like a reproduction label of an actual card from a funeral card. Now these are very special. These are 3 buttons from a mourning jacket, a Victorian mourning jacket, and I picked them up at an antique store for this journal specifically. I was so happy to have found them. There are in this journal 3 signatures. I've added an antique book plate here on the front so that you can write whatever you'd like right there. There are 2 bronze closures here, eyelets to keep the journal tied closed. I've used a hand-dyed eyelet lace in this sort of dingy gray tone. It's a dye that I created with eco-printing, essentially, mordants and tannins, and that's everything about the outside, I think. So we will hop in now and take a quick look. So when I open this up, you'll see here I've used this beautiful paper that very much reminds me of something that you might see in a very fancy parlor or a funeral home. It's floral and it has gold. It's just a beautiful paper. And then this is a pocket here with some gray lace. And then down here, this is actually a funeral. This is an old postcard from Paris, Saint Madeleine, and it's just a pocket there. And then inside the pocket, this is an authentic sympathy card from St. James Lutheran Sunday School to whomever it was sent to for a funeral. And then I've added this orchid greeting card inside. I thought it was just kind of appropriate because it's a flower. And then some of Release the Crafton's graveyard photography and a Victorian mourning card. I've also used some things from Pegasus Paper Co. in this journal, including this fun journal card of a monument, and I've added some gold lace there. I've also added some symbolism to this journal. So this is a Salvador Dali piece of a person with, wings and all these drawers that are kind of opening, and I really liked the symbolism to that. And then we have a mourner here on the floor, and that is the pocket that tucks into. And then on this side, more Dali with those drawers and this sculpture. And this is a little snippet of a funeral card, and this is actually a toe tag. And then this is some of my grungy eco-printed, rust-printed paper and hand-dyed paper. Some floral eco-printed paper. This is from an early 1900s music book. It's a song called Bury Me Out on the Prairie. So I just collaged a little there. It's really nice soft paper. This is a collage pocket here. This is a paper cameo image. And this is actually from this digital is from Pegasus Paper Co., and it is actually like funeral related writing. And then inside here we have an authentic receipt from the parish of Saint Helier, received from Ms. Noel, 17 shillings to the credit of the ambulance account. And then this is just a picture of someone from the 1930s, so she would be a dearly departed, so I have placed her in here. I've used throughout this journal some death-related words from Release the Craftin. This is psychomachy, I believe that's how it's said. A conflict between the body and the soul. Some of my dyed papers. This is a pocket here, and I've used some withering, kind of rotting plant kind of cards, just, you know, to touch on the concept of like the end of life and decay and those kind of things. And then this is just kind of a a graveyard photography tag. More of those plants, and we have a snail here, and then some beautiful dyed paper. This is an envelope that I made. This is My Life Goes On, and it's got one of those Victorian cards on the front with the hands. This is some spirit photography pages. There are several of these pages that talk about photographers who tried to cover like spirit photography. It was a really big sort of movement, especially in England in like the Victorian times. They were really trying to capture the soul, or capture like ghost-like images, be they real or feigned, or like feigned reality. This is another paper cameo brooch image. And inside this pocket there is this, Sacred to the Memory. And this is a poem called My November Guest, and it has some literature about, you know, the passing of life. This is more from a book about spirit photography in Victorian times. This is like stage acts that were done to demonstrate the apparent powers over the spirit. There were a lot of people at that time trying to sell their talents, or like, you know, their showmanship around being able to communicate with spirits or show ghosts, like actual, you know, ghostly images. So this is a National Geographic page that I've dissolved. This is just kind of a fun withered page digital, and this is from Pegasus Paper Co. All of this, actually, this is a little floating moth and butterfly pocket, and then there's this orchid in here, and this is all like mourning related art. These are mourning warblers. This is some of my eco-printed paper. This is a guest book page that I have inked up and coffee dyed. I thought it was appropriate to have a guest book. More dyed paper. This is from a book about like sort of darker myth and magic and man. It's about facing the facts. When we hear that someone has died, we are often completely unprepared for the shock that inevitably accompanies this news. In the following pages, we endeavor to give some guidance on coping with the process of dying and its aftermath. This is an eco-printed page. I have these nice little brads that have these little frames hanging from them, so I've added a few of them to this journal. And then a lot of word snippets here and there. Close to him, that was all I could do to say goodbye. And then he was gone, and I have never seen him since. Then this is like a little booklet that I've made from a Pegasus Paper Co. digital. And it has my hand-dyed papers in it, just a little fun over-the-top notebook on this eco-printed paper, and it just clips on with a rusty paper clip. More dyed paper, and then this image. This is a paper representation of one of those funerary brooches for remembrance, where you would place a lock of hair, and it says here, memento mori, hair of a loved one. If you have a strand of your loved one's hair, you can glue it to this brooch. So this is just taped on. Actually, it can be removed, so if you did want to actually use this page in that way, you could. This is a digital of a large funeral card. This is A funeral card of James J. Sewell, born Lafayette County, 1828, died January 26, 1906, age 77 years. And then I have this paper clip up here that has this lovely bit of a black piece of jewelry. Some dyed papers, another of the words from Release the Crafton. Atterate, one dressed in black, a mourner. And that is a flip out guest book page. More eco-printed paper. This is a book page from the late 1700s, and it's an index page and talks about all sorts of different things, but the reason I included it was it has mention here of ghosts warned out of the playhouse, the appearance of a ghost of great efficacy on the English theatre, and then it has goths in poetry who. That's another National Geographic page that was dissolved. Then this is a journal card here. Another deathly image. This is more spirit photography, and this is William Mullet of Los Angeles. He was a popular spirit photographer, but also Harry Houdini, the escape artist. He was very into spiritualism and spirit photography as well. And then this is actually a mourning image from a children's book. These children are mourning their mother, and it's from like a fairy tale, one of those charming children's 1800s kind of fairy tales. And then here we have a journal card made of this London's Dreadful, I can't even read this word, or a collection of the bills of mortality from December 1664. That's a journal card. And then some beautiful paper, and this is a collaged book page pocket that I made. I felt like these just really went nicely. These are laminated, and some of them have actually I think they all have plant seeds inside them. And then more of the sort of decaying plants. This is Arise Ye Dead. It's a large journal card of a tombstone. May your inner chambers be ever expanding. This is a Victorian Mourning fan pocket, and it has Joanne E. Bender inside. And a little photograph from Release the Crafton, and this is a Victorian Mourning journal card from Pegasus Paper Co. This is more of the communicating with spirits kind of legend from a book, and some fun spirit photography. This girl actually kind of looks a little bit like Leah Remini to me, which totally cracked me up when I saw it. I also love the expression on her face, like, why am I here? Dyed papers, and this is just some sort of deathly art that I felt like was really interesting and went well with the theme. It's just really cool, and it's got that same fun paper on the back. I really love how this paper dyed, actually. This is one of my favorite pages. I love all the elements to it. So we have back here kind of a funeral procession sort of wrapping up, and then over here we have a Victorian mourning doll, and her arms are attached with brads, so they do move. So in this arm she has a bouquet, and in this arm she has a crow. This is from Pegasus Paper Co., and I just have her kind of cradling the crow and holding the bouquet there. And then this is a pocket. This is a journal card here, and this moon, you just kind of flip that out for writing space, and then it closes up. And then this woman, this is so interesting, Mrs. Rosemary Brown, who claims to be in contact with the spirits of several dead composers, including Liszt and Chopin. She says they guide her hands to write down and play new compositions. Even experts agree these are in the style of the masters. I also like that at the back of her piano here, there's just a picture of a cat. And then all the masters up here. Very funny. This is about Robert Graves, who was asked about the likelihood of ghosts, and he basically says that, you should accept the likelihood of ghosts the same as you accept fire, a more common but equally mysterious phenomenon. What is fire? It's not really an element, not a principle of motion, not a living creature, not even a disease, though a house can catch fire from its neighbors. It is an event rather than a thing or a creature. Ghosts similarly seem to be events rather than things or creatures. So just some nice kind of reading in this book too, little bits here and there. This is another of those little brad frames on some of my eco-printed paper. And then this is kind of cool. This is a reproduction, journal card image. The diseases and casualties this week. And so this is from like Victorian times, and it's just, it's a real document. And, it talks like basically from, A to Z of all of how many of each of these things have happened. So things like, deaths from being aged, bleeding, canker, convulsion, cough, fever, smallpox, frightened as they say, grief, griping in the guts, jaundice or jaundice, how they spell it, and then they have like males, females, the total, how many were buried, how many were christened, how many passed from the plague, the burials for the week. So just interesting historical kind of references. I mean, this is some like marble, kind of like funerary, marble. And then another of the words from Release the Crafton, lethiferous, deadly, bringing death or destruction. And then on this side we have some sort of dyed paper that I've made, and another of those little collage pockets with the seeds. And this is more Victorian mourners from Pegasus Paper Co. And then this up here is just a cool image that I found. You are defied to accompany the corpse of Mr. Samuel Reddington, late deceased, from the dwelling out of Mr. Charles Beardo. Like it's a whole invitation, a funeral invitation, and bring this ticket with you. So I was reading a little bit about this, and there were times where when certain people would pass, like you would have to have a ticket. And there are so many cool, like if you kind of Google this phenomenon if you're interested in it, like there's so much interesting death notices, like obituaries and death cards and funeral invitations and sort of like permissary notes and those kind of things. Just lots of neat stuff. Back here we have some more spiritual, like people trying to act as a medium, more of that kind of photography. And then this is another piece of stationery with these black kind of prints, deathly images. This is a block print of a mourner that I found in an antique book, and I had to include it. It's really beautifully done. It's a wood block print. And then this is just some beautiful paper. This is a digital from Pegasus Paper Co. This is a death card. I believe this is potentially, I'm not even going to guess at the language at this point. It's like, I don't even know. I think it's possibly Latin based, but it's just a really neat death card. And then this is more of the National Geographic page. This is a beautiful image I found in a book, and I think it was called like Fall Mourning, and it's just these girls have mourning clothes on. You see them dressed in black, and one's carrying a basket, and they're making kind of a pile of leaves. They all look kind of sad. This little girl has an apple. Lots of symbolism. Eco-printed page. Slaw, the spirits of the restless dead. This is another Victorian mourning page from Pegasus Paper Co. And then under here, this paper says, Nothing But Blue Skies. Another of the guest book pages, eco-printing. This is a pocket. This is like a funeral, like a group of like women sitting in a round circle. And then this is just for more writing space. I just really love that paper, so I wanted to include a little bit more in like a journal card format. And then more of my dyed paper here, and then a dyed doily. This is a part of a funeral card used as a tuck for one of Release the Crafton's gravestone photographs. This is just a beautiful page from the digitals from Pegasus Paper Co. Sorry, left my brain for a moment. And then this is another of my collaged pockets with another of the photographs from Release the Crafton. And some more doily. This is some funeral procession photography. Back here we have more spirit photography, and then another of these pieces of stationery. These are all like encounters with like death, essentially. Different ways that it was depicted in early art, and these are all eco-printed pages. This is a funerary brooch, and it's attached with a brad so it can kind of slide around, and it's on one of those guest book pages. This says enchanted and very far away. This is one of those little scroll type images. It's from Pegasus Paper Co. This is what like they used to, like one of the images they used to put on funeral cards, and they would type the information on it. To sleep, perchance to dream, from Shakespeare's Hamlet. And this is just some nice art that I found. I like the shadows of the daisies on her eyes. And this is a pocket with this card inside. Life and Death Contrasted, or an essay on woman. That's kind of interesting. And then more of the National Geographic page that has been dissolved. More dyed paper. She thought her death was certain. And then this is a pocket from Pegasus Paper Co. And then this is a mourning card of, I believe, the Baudouin sisters, or Baudouin sisters from Washington, D.C. And then some more lovely paper. Another of those collage cards. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, after his death, appeared in innumerable pictures by spirit photographers who believed his presence would convince the sitters of their authenticity. So there he is. And then another Victorian mourning card from Pegasus Paper Cup. Then just some interesting death art. There, safe arrived, we turn around to keep the coming shadows out and close the happy door at last on all the perils that we passed. More dyed paper. This is some more funeral jewelry, and typically it would have the date of birth and death. And that's on the marbled paper, and this is a mourning photo. Another mourning photo of a woman with a picture of a child. And then this is a greeting card that I just felt like it was nice, it fit. It shows, you know, the beauty of these moths, and then the decay of the apples, and then obviously writing space inside. And it's called Garden Butterflies, and there's some information about the art on the back of the card. This is, you know, some funeral imagery, and this is coffins, and on the page that is attached to this one, like earlier on back here, it talks about these images. Coffins were moved in an allegedly haunted vault in Christchurch, Barbados in 1820. Yeah, so you can read about that. It's about this, because this is like, you know, one page basically. This is more spirit photography. This is from a children's book page, actually, and it just says the end, and I made a belly band out of it. This is actually a book cover from Pegasus Paper Co., and I made this little booklet with an eyelet, and it just is a simple, like, thicker cardstock booklet, and when you open it up, there's just some dyed paper inside and this fun marbling that I did, and you can just write some secrets in there if you want to. It's a little bit of a private kind of writing space. You could, you know, write your thoughts on these kind of topics. And it just ties up in a bow here. Oops. Shooting videos is always when I'm unable to tie bows. My apologies. There we go. And then this is a page of butterflies that's been quite distressed. And this is some old music, music from an old music book called Break the News to Mother. And it's from the era of, like, you know, soldiers being injured or killed at war. This is more beautiful dyed paper. This is more guest book and eco-printed paper, this one with rose petals. Another of the death words, Mizpah, the deep emotional bond between people, especially those separated by distance or death. We have an envelope here that tips out. It says Memento Mori. And this is an authentic old photograph of this gentleman. These are turn of the century photographs. This one is from the 1920s. And And this is a digital from Pegasus Paper Co. We have a woman mourning here and lots of animals around and the feet of someone who you'll see later. And another of the dyed pages, National Geographic pages. This is an authentic mourning card you'll see here with deepest sympathy, and it's actually still sealed inside the envelope, and it has a little very old metal eyelet here, and I've attached it with a little rusty bulldog clip with lace on an eco-printed page, and it just sits up here. And this is the tolling of a death bell. And then this is sort of a more of that spirit photography, but it's all illustration. And another of those little frames on some manila paper. This is another authentic sympathy card from Belle and Laura. And we have a mourning image here. Eco-printed paper, an obituary. I love this one. Louise Clouchet. I just love the caricature of how she was drawn. And actually, I was doing some research on this, and this was actually relatively common in in different periods in time and in different places. But this one's actually Canadian. So, yeah. Some mushrooms. And we have some Victorian mourning ladies here in their different styles. That's from Pegasus Paper Co. And then some more deathly art, just a thin piece of paper. I tried to make a few things thinner in here because I didn't want this journal to be gapingly huge, although it is quite big. More dyed paper. This is chapter 20 of a book called Obituary. This is just a really cool piece of art. Here we have this skeleton walking in the forest. And then this is best quality jet black mourning pins, and it's holding on to one of the words, saudade, I believe, saudade, a nostalgic longing to be near again to something or someone who is distant or that has been loved and then lost, the love that remains. Could be saudade, but I think you may pronounce the E, I can't recall. It's been a while since I've heard the word. And then more plants, fruits, last things. More eco-printed paper, the premature burial. I kept finding pages in books that I was going through that I felt like would just really fit this book. Sciophilia, a love for shadows. More spirit photography. Eco-print, National Geographic page. More dyed paper. And there he is, our dearly departed. An RIP tuck spot. This is all from Pegasus Paper Co. It's a lovely envelope with a pen quill, and I love the back of it as well. And then inside we have this piece of, it's a card actually. So it is the same as the book cover I showed you. It's like this woman lying in the water and her soul is leaving her body. Eco-printed paper, evanescent, soon passing out of sight, memory, or existence. More dyed paper. This is a mourning image, and then it's on more of that old music paper. A couple things in here. So this is from a 1939 View magazine. It's a French magazine, and I just felt like she was a good mourning image. Now, this is so neat. This is from a 1950s Maclean's magazine, and it's a 2-pager. I wanted to include it. It's original ephemera. So Maclean's is Canada's national magazine. They're like they've always been like a good magazine to sort of cover events, current events. This one is interesting. A renowned scientist's startling claim: death is not inevitable. Aging is a disease that could be cured, says Montreal's Dr. Selye, the world famous pioneer in the study of stress. There's no good reason why a limit should be placed on the human lifespan. Here's his urgent plea for more research into the supreme medical riddle. So his study is like around, death not being inevitable. So it's kind of an interesting read, and it's like definitely from that time, so yeah, I wanted to include that because I found it historically fascinating. More of those butterflies, and we have a little tree here. More spirit photography and dyed paper. And then here at the back we have another of the words, obtusio, I am silent. This is an authentic old cabinet card, and then inside I've added one of Release the Crafton's photographs of a graveyard. And that is the end of this journal. So I hope you enjoyed this sort of different topic and this flip through. And also, if it wasn't for you, I understand. You know, different people, different things, right? So thank you for hanging out with me, though. This journal, if you're seeing this video, will be up in the shop shortly, if it isn't already, unless it is already spoken for, but probably it will be up in the shop. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and yeah, all is well. Bye for now.